Hey everyone, Happy New Year! Remember, if you love film, gaming, or television content, please consider clicking that subscribe button because today I'll be talking about the latest Steven Spielberg film, The Fabelmans. So, let's get into it. So, just before I get into this film, I just wanted to quickly talk about my screening experience because it was one of my favorites of 2022. Yesterday, they had two New Year's Eve screenings to close out the year. Both films explored the power of cinema, and my next video will be talking about the second film I saw in that double feature. I started both these off with The Fabelmans. It was nice. There was a little red carpet there, and they gave me a glass of champagne, which, by the way, I actually hate the taste of champagne, but, you know, it still feels quite fancy. The screening felt like it was for people who really just love these kinds of films. It was the specific target audience that I am sure Steven Spielberg was looking for with this film. And when that is happening, you really get a wonderful experience in the cinema when the audience actually cares about the movie, and it's something that just almost never happens, so it's really nice to acknowledge the moments when it does. With all that said, let's get into the film itself. So with The Fabelmans, I think I was probably the most skeptical person on the planet when it came to this. I know this is a huge Oscar contender and a critical darling. I have this number 3 on my Best Picture predictions race, and it just has such a positive reception. With that said, a critical response and awards attention doesn't define whether I like or dislike a film. And when I saw the trailer for The Fabelmans, I wasn't fully on board with what this looked like. The trailer made this look really cheesy, and I was actually cringing at moments because it seemed like the most shameless Oscar bait. I also haven't been a big fan of Spielberg's latest stuff. I wasn't a fan of West Side Story, so I was very skeptical going into this. When you also throw in the fact that I really don't like the genre that The Fabelmans explores, it just added to my doubts. And now that's why you see the actual movie and not judge everything on a trailer, because The Fabelman is Spielberg's best film in years. I've always thought that objectively, he may be the greatest filmmaker who ever lived. I mean, he has made classic film after classic film, and they're just ones that not only resonate heavily with a small group of people, they resonate with everyone. And I mean, he has inspired so many filmmakers and will probably continue to do so after he's gone. For me, there are definitely directors that I prefer watching, but I still think he is right up there for me personally. If I had to make a list of some of my favorite directors, he would probably be on the list because he has just made so many amazing films. The Fabelmans feels like a return to form for Spielberg because he is telling the most personal thing in his career. So of course he wants to give this everything he has. I don't know if he has any more stuff in the works for the future, but if not, The Fabelmans is a great send-off to Steven Spielberg's legendary career because it encapsulates what he loves about cinema and what inspired him to pursue the art form. I know for a fact that a lot of people who go to film school and want to pursue directing are going to find something extremely personal and profound to them when they watch this. It will probably be your favorite film of the year if you are pursuing directing. But I think what ultimately makes this great is not the message itself exploring the power of cinema, because I think that on its own is a bit of a pretentious thing to talk about. It needs a good amount of substance behind it to make it feel real and not just some elitist screaming their opinion at you. Spielberg thankfully does that because this explores an upbringing where the whole fantasy of a movie is something that Sammy Fabelman gets lost in and wants to recreate images to give that level of escapism to other people. And that is where you get the substance that makes the message feel important. I really think that was the most powerful thing here because, yeah, while we do get the reasons why Spielberg loves films, it doesn't really focus on Sammy Fabelman, the character that Spielberg is pretty much putting his own personality and personal life into. when we do the screenings of the little productions he did as a kid, it doesn't focus on him. It focuses on key members of the audience and their reactions. And I think the way that Spielberg communicates that is not a self-serving thing at all. It's really about how much joy it brings him to give that audience a level of escapism that he felt as a child. And that is what gives him great joy as a filmmaker.
It is quite beautiful.
I think another thing that I really want to praise here is the screenplay from Spielberg and Tony Kushner. The dialogue was just so interesting to me. The story progression is also brilliant, and for a 2.5-hour film, I wasn't really checking the time. Maybe in the closing moments, I was thinking, okay, we need to start wrapping this up now, but it really wasn't anything major for me. With that, let's get into some of the performances. Okay, this ensemble is pretty great overall. Honestly, my favorite out of everyone was the lead, Gabriel Labelle, because he just kills it here. To me, he delivered in every single moment, and the film asks a lot from him, and he always delivers. There is one scene in particular that is one that is very quiet with him and Michelle Williams, where information that only these two characters know comes to the forefront. And it honestly made me teary-eyed a little because it was handled so brilliantly. Michelle Williams, while I'm mentioning her, is also pretty great. She will most likely receive a nomination for her performance. However, I wasn't fully swept up with her character. That is a combination of the writing for the character and the performance itself. But to me, she does toe the line of being a little eccentric to just downright annoying. I just really wasn't a huge fan of her character, and I think where I feel the Oscar bait the most comes down to that performance. I also think that Michelle Williams, while an amazing performer, is slightly typecast as an unhappy wife a lot. There are so many movies where she plays that character, and sure, there are definitely different variations of that, and she does a great job of doing it. But when you really break it down, they're all pretty much the same person. The rest of the ensemble is great. Paul Dano is fantastic. I'm a little annoyed that the performance this year that he'll get nominated for is this one over his one in The Batman, because I thought that was an electric performance. However, it is still a great performance, and sure, it is worthy of a supporting actor nomination, and I'd love to see that for Paul Dano because he is well overdue. The other one that is competing here is Judd Hirsch, who has a pretty electric 9 minutes and leaves. To me, while he is in one of the most important scenes of the entire film, I'm not really on board with him getting a nomination. I'm not against a limited time performance because I will defend Anne Hathaway's Oscar win in Les Mis because she is head and shoulders the best part of that film. I don't think Judd Hirsch hits those highs to me, even if he is an excellent addition, and I am happy that he is in the film overall. Now, let's get into the technical elements. I mean, this is a Spielberg film. What more do I need to say? He is a master of his craft. The cinematography I found was surprisingly good. Not amazing, not the best of the year, but I definitely preferred it over the West Side Story cinematography because I felt like that overutilized lens flares and it got a little annoying while the Fabelmans doesn't. This also uses some really white backdrops and lighting, and I guess it washes it out a little at times, but it wasn't enough to really bother me. The editing is phenomenal, maybe some of my favorite this year, and then there is the score from John Williams. Now, the theme in the trailer, which I really enjoyed, I don't recall being in the movie, which is a shame because I really like that theme. I think other than that, this is a pretty forgettable score, and I'm not a fan of it getting nominated, to be honest. Overall, while I do really like The Fabelmans because it is great in a lot of aspects, there were moments when I just wasn't fully on board with everything, and I also don't really see myself being that hungry to rewatch this again. Even if it is great, I do recommend it to you, and honestly, if you go to film school, I don't care what I like or what I've recommended, but this one is essential for you. I'm going to give The Fabelmans a strong 4 out of 5, and I'm really glad that I liked the movie a whole lot more than what I thought I was going to. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Tell me what you think about The Fabelmans in the comments below, and let me know what your favorite Spielberg film is. I think this is his best one in a little while, but nothing beats all the classics he made 20 to 30 years ago. Look forward to my next video, which will feature the next thing I saw in that double feature for New Year's Eve. So remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.